Welcome back. It's been a while since I've been able to go through one of your games on video, but one of my subscribers, Peter Sonday, known as OnlyMe99 on chess.com, sent me this game, which I found very fascinating, especially near the end. Now, I did go through the entire game, but this is the part that I want to focus on. We're at move 50. Just for a little background, this is a 2-minute bullet game with a 1-second increment, so both players have been moving very quickly to fit 50 moves into this game. Now, perhaps because it's a bullet game, mistakes are made through moving too quickly. Peter has been behind since move 10. He blundered on move 10, and he's been behind ever since, according to the engine, as I worked my way all the way through, and he's still behind. On move 50, with 6.5 seconds left per player, the engine says Peter's at about a minus 16. The opponent has that much of an advantage. Now, it looks like they're fairly even. If you're looking at it with no engine, they both have a knight and some pawns. It looks even. The opponent does have one extra pawn, which I guess will be able to stop one of Peter's pawns on the A and B files, but it shouldn't be able to stop both of them. But over here, the opponent has two unopposed pawns, two passed pawns, protected by the king, connected to each other, and this front one is very close to promotion. Now, it's Peter's turn. What can he do? The engine says what he should have played here, it was knight to f7, which is way back there, or knight to h7, which is way back there. And I'm not sure what either one of those would do. I'm pretty sure Peter didn't even consider those. I think if it were me, I might have tried to go here, which would have, I guess, helped work my way over toward that pawn, or to try to protect my pawns. I really don't know what I would have done in this situation. I wouldn't have done what Peter did, which is go there. Now, again, I might have, because I move very fast in these bullet games sometimes, and if you've watched any of my videos where I'm playing live bullet games, I've just hung my queen in some of these situations. So he just moved here. Now, he might have done that on purpose. He's worked out some pretty good strategies. He's rated higher in bullet than I am. And one strategy you can use in bullet, especially when the time is this low, is to play a completely unexpected move, because you know the opponent wasn't about to move his knight there. The opponent was about to do something else entirely, and in fact might have pre-moved it, like this. Assuming Peter wasn't just about to hang his knight and was about to move his knight back there someplace, the opponent was probably going to keep moving these two pawns forward to try to get them to promote. And my guess is he had pre-moved that, because he didn't have time. In fact, he got a second added to his clock, so he must have pre-moved it or been very close to pre-moving it. Otherwise, he would have taken a second and seen that. But instead, Peter saw it, perhaps as soon as he realized his mistake, and said, oh no, they moved the pawn, and then he took their knight. They still both have about 7 seconds left, so the speed at which they're moving here is incredible to me. But it's still even. Even though Peter is the only one with a piece left, it's still even. And I suspect it's because of these two pawns, once again, being so close to promotion. Peter's probably going to have to give up that knight for one of these pawns and blockade the other one with his king. And then the opponent's king is going to have to go this way to try to knock these pawns off, leaving Peter to take this pawn and follow. But that black king is probably going to get there first. That's just my guess as to how that would play out if both players played accurately, because Stockfish says if the opponent plays king to f3 or h3, which are the only two correct moves, that this game could end up drawn as long as Peter makes the correct moves and black makes the correct moves and so on. But instead, the opponent played there. It had to be tempting, right? Because that was the closest pawn to promotion, and now it's only one square away. The problem is that the pawn used to be keeping Peter from going to f2, but now it doesn't because it's moved. It's keeping him from going to f1, but now he can go to f2. And that keeps this king from coming forward, which is what it should have done last time, right? Go to f3, but it didn't. So now Peter can go to f2. That means the only way to guard this pawn would be to move the h pawn or put the king over there, which would block the h pawn. So I assume once he goes here that you need to play h3, but he didn't play there. See, that gave Peter the huge advantage, but then he gave it back by playing his knight here, which again, I see it makes sense. The knight's going to guard the square in front of that. But it allows the opponent to do this, which guards this pawn temporarily and allows this one to march down. And again, he's going to have to sacrifice his knight for one of those pawns. And now that this king has come here, Peter can't go there. But he plays with the check here, which was decent. The king moves over, which is fine. Back here, I found it interesting. Stockfish said the king could have even gone there and it would have been okay. Not sure about that. King to e4. That would have allowed this king over here, but then I guess he would have protected. But that would have allowed this king closer to get over here and win these pawns. So I'm not sure how that would have played out, but instead he went this way, which is to me the more natural move. Peter starts playing over there. So what's going to happen over here? To me, it's obvious that he has to play h3 at this point, the opponent, because Peter would have to sacrifice his knight for it. I assume the king would take at that point, and then this king would come here. I don't know exactly how it would play out, but h3 seems like the only move that makes any sense to me at all, because if it gets past there, if Peter doesn't sacrifice his knight for it, there's no way to stop those two pawns at all. But instead, the opponent went there. Now, we know what he was thinking. He was thinking this is an unprotected knight, and the knight's going to have to move out and run away, and then his king's going to get in front of these pawns, and they're going to promote. That had to have been what the opponent was thinking. But the opponent didn't know that Peter could go here, and Peter found it. This protects the knight, but more importantly, it protects g3, and the knight's covering h3. So this king can't get out. King is trapped in front of that pawn. So it can move back and forth. Peter can move his other pawns. Now it's backing up just a second. Stockfish says the opponent's best move was here, but h3 is no better. It wouldn't have mattered either way, is what Stockfish says. But he did that, and that's just a free pawn, which fortunately Peter took it because it's just free. And if you promote this now, the knight takes it, so they're not going to promote the g-pawn. So the king goes after the knight. Well, the knight just goes back where it was. And remember what we said about the king and the knight guarding those two squares? The black king can't get out, and the g-pawn can't move at all. This was the coolest thing about this game for me, and I'm sorry it took me 7 minutes to get here, but that king is trapped in a box, and it can't do anything. So all it can do is move back and forth while Peter advances his A and B pawns, and then just takes the B pawn all the way. And now look what happens. Well, that's checkmate. And so good job, Peter, for finding the box, trapping the king in the box. And good job for continuing to play when you were down. At the end of the game, both players had 5 seconds left, which means they were moving incredibly fast, less than a second per move on average to maintain above 0 times. Thank you for sending me in the game. I'm sorry I can't put all your games in. And to everyone else who has sent games, I'm sorry, I just don't have time to put everybody's game in, but I do look at all of them. When I find something like this that's really fascinating to me and I think would be fascinating to my viewers, I'll try to get it on the channel when I have a chance. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.